Muna. Okay, thank you everybody for joining us again. My name's Andrew Heath. I'm based in the UK and I support our communication teams around the world in collecting stories of our impact and the need for our work, which enables us to be able to create change at scale. And as part of my work, I support our communications teams around the world in collecting stories of our impact. And I happened to be in Sudan and specifically in Darfur in March last year. I've been lucky to visit Sudan on a number of occasions throughout my time in Practical Action. I've worked for Practical Action for over 12 years now. And it's one of my favourite countries in the world. It's got incredible, welcoming, and dedicated people, as you're about to find out. But what struck me on my last visit there was the build-up of soldiers and armed supplies, both in Khartoum, but especially in Darfur. And there was one day when I was there when I had to return to the office to collect some equipment. And the driver and I had to wait for around 10 minutes at a junction. Well, an enormous convoy of lorries carrying heavily armed soldiers and weapons trundled past us. And I asked the driver if this was kind of normal. And he sighed and said no. And then when I asked him what was happening, he told me he didn't know. But whatever it wasn't good. And a few weeks later, the civil war began. So over the next hour, you'll hear about an incredibly complex, dangerous, and difficult environment to work in. And you'll hear how we've managed to continue delivering vital work in much more detail over the next few minutes from Muna and from Mutaz. Muna's our country director in Sudan, and Mutaz is our head of programs in Sudan. And you'll also hear from some of the other members of staff who I had a chance to talk with before this event in some videos that we've pre-prepared. And just quickly to give a little bit of context about Sudan, it's a huge country, roughly the size of France, Spain, Italy, and Germany combined, give or take. Practical Action works in 4 areas of Sudan. You've got a map in front of you, hopefully. So we work in North Darfur, which is in the west, in Al-Fashir, where our principal office is located. And we have another office in the dusty town of Kebkabia, which is around 100 miles further west towards the border with Chad. In addition to that, we've got an office in Demazine, which is in Blue Nile State, and that is in the south of the country, near to the border with South Sudan, and that's just been highlighted. We also have a really long-standing office in Kassala, which you can see in the east of the country, and that's right tucked up to the border next to Eritrea. And finally, we've also got work in Gedarif, which is 150 miles south of Kassala, almost equidistant between our work, our office in Kassala and in Demazine. And you'll also likely to hear some reference to the 2 warring sides in Sudan. If you do, there's the RSF, the Rapid Support Force, which is a kind of militia set up by a previous regime. And then in addition, we've got the Sudanese Armed Forces, or the SAF. And they're the two forces that are kind of fighting each other for power in Sudan at the moment. And I wanted to make it clear why we're holding this event as well. Firstly, we want to shed a light on the incredible work that our colleagues in Sudan are doing and continuing to do under the most incredibly stressful conditions imaginable, and to shed a light on how the communities that we work with there are also very much part of this work. Secondly, we wanted to highlight just how important it is for organisations like Practical Action to continue to do long-term development work, even in times of crisis. We acknowledge and support the work of humanitarian organisations, but we also know that without addressing the underlying causes of poverty and social instability, then what is happening in Sudan will happen over and over again. And finally, we wanted to shed a light on a situation which hasn't gone away and hasn't improved, despite the fact that there's very little coverage in international news outlets. And I actually say very little coverage, but I wanted to quote a piece from Time magazine, which was written by a Sudanese policy analyst and was published today. And this really underlines to me just how serious the situation is. She said, Sudan is the world's largest humanitarian catastrophe. It's home to the world's largest displacement crisis, the world's largest hunger crisis. More than 10 million people, representing 1 in 5 of the population, have been displaced by fighting. More than half the population, that's 26 million people, are now facing crisis levels of hunger. Famine has now been declared in North Darfur, and a harrowing report in May warns that up to 2.5 million people could die from hunger in Sudan by September this year, which is where we are now. So those are the numbers. On a personal note, I found out today that a videographer that I worked with in Sudan a few years ago died in the last few days after being hit by an airstrike. It's difficult to find out many details about him, but he was young, he was in his late 20s. He'll be badly missed by everyone who worked with him. And it really underlines to me, both on a personal level and on an international level, just how serious the situation is there. So hopefully this session will help to show why Practical Action's work in Sudan is absolutely crucial and why the support of everybody is absolutely vital as well. So Muna, hopefully you can turn on your camera. Mutaz as well. Muna, I was wondering if you'd be able to give us a short overview of what's happening in Sudan at the moment.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for your support, for your organizing this event. And thank you for all the participants who join us today for your time and for your attention. What's going on in Sudan is the forgettable war that is not paid enough attention by the media and by the international community, which is very unfortunate. I would say what's going on in Sudan is not better than what's going on in Gaza and in Ukraine. We're not speaking about hundreds of thousands of refugees and IDPs. No, we're speaking about millions of refugees and IDPs who have been suffering tremendously from the conflict over wealth and power, unfortunately, and among ourselves. When we speak about war in Gaza, it is between two enemies, between Israel and Palestine, and in Ukraine between Russia and Ukrainian, but this is between Sudanese themselves who are killing each other. So this is a real human tragedy. It is not only the man-made disaster, it's also the natural-made disaster. Now it's suffering. It's facing the Sudanese people who are battling floods, war, who are battling cholera, who are battling hunger, who are battling everything. So people are just died on the street because of hunger, because of bullets, because of anything that can cause death for human beings. We don't get up in the morning without hearing somebody died every morning. This is now, it is 510 days since the war started. It's 510 days today. And on a daily basis, we hear people who are close. We either know people we know, or relatives or friends, or related to people that we know, that they die on a daily basis. Young, old, children, everything. it is something beyond people can describe. We are working under circumstances. If we start talking from now until next year, we're not going to finish about presenting figures, presenting situations, and presenting things happening to individual people, for us personally and for people surrounding us, staff and colleagues and friends, relatives. The war started in April 15, 2023, and as of today, there is no initiatives on the horizon for the war to end. There is no attention from the international community to take serious action to end the war. And it's getting regional and international because, like many other international communities and many other countries who are supporting either the Rapid Support Force or the army. So the war is getting bad and bad and expanding. It started in Khartoum state, now it is all over the country. The entire country is suffering from war. The entire population are either refugees or displaced or host to displaced. So it is quite a tragedy. It's a catastrophe that I don't think it's happening in the world, and it's happening in the near future. Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks, Muna. It's really good oversight of what it's like personally, but also that big picture. I mean, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about what donations have allowed us to do, what the public's donations have allowed us to do in Sudan. So a very brief idea of what money coming in from the UK, which is kind of what we would describe as unrestricted and free for you to spend. What's that enabled us to do?
The money coming from your end, from UK, from other donors is helping us to save people life, while on the other side of the equation, people are killed. So we're saving the life of people and the war is killing people. We are making the agriculture season success so it can just reduce the number of people who will be impacted by the famine. We're not big enough to save everybody in Sudan, but the communities we are serving are doing good, are doing better, actually, than other communities, because the war did not stop us from delivering. We provide seeds and seedlings to the small farmers. We construct water harvesting facilities. We still continue to do that. Our community is becoming like very rich in a way compared to other communities because the war destroyed everything on other communities. And actually they are hosting IDPs from other communities, other cities and towns, other villages, because there is agriculture, there are ongoing activities, there is water, and there is food. So they host their relatives, they host their tribe mates, they host their population from neighboring neighboring cities, neighboring villages, neighboring communities. And because the supply chain has been destroyed completely, it is becoming like the situation is becoming worse, definitely not better than before the war, but at least they're surviving now and they're helping others around them to survive. So instead of farming cash and food crop, now they start only farming food crop because they cannot sell the cash crop. So they just farm food that just to fill their stomach and to make them live, to make them stay alive, rather than looking for a cash or sending kids to school. This is becoming a luxurious kind of objective on their life. Like, just we need to live in safe, we need to host our people who come seeking refuge and stay alive.
Yeah. Thanks, Muna. So, I mean, the donations clearly give us the ability to be able to react to opportunities that otherwise we wouldn't be able to do to help the communities that we live in. What I also know is that the civil war has massively affected our ability to operate as an office. It's caused us huge problems in terms of being able to do the day-to-day work that you need to be able to do. It's like access to laptops, electricity becomes sort of unreliable. And we know that banking systems have been difficult. And I'd like to bring in a conversation that I had with Walla Nimir, who's the people and culture head in Sudan. That's our human resources. And Walla told me how we were actually going about making sure that staff got paid, and just what a challenge that was at the beginning, and is an ongoing challenge in Sudan. And I'd just like to play that video just now. What about kind of the logistics of like how do you pay people when banks are starting to shut down, and like how did all that work?
For us, it was very hard at first trying to figure out how is that going to happen with all the banks not having the stability even to transfer the funds. So we kind of reached many decisions that like we have to be creative. We have to be creative, and we have to like work out of the box in order for us to kind of create like just the minimum for our staff members so they can like be financially secured and operate. So what we did is that the first couple of months is we will pay our staff in advance. Whenever the bank is operating for one day, we will just process the salaries very fast and try to pay, like, for example, May, June, and July salaries all together. So they have the funds with them, and they're able to live with all the new conditions that they are going through. Some of them moving to Kassala with their families, trying to find fundings for rent, they needed a good amount of money. So another thing is what we did was the medical insurance. With the suspension of all the medical insurance companies in Sudan due to the instability in the security, we had the decision to give them monetary funds instead of engaging with insurance companies in advance for the whole year. That way, if there's an emergency or anything is to happen, they already have the medical compensation like funds.
That's like kind of a lump sum of money that
Yes,
you're
it's
able
a
to
lump
give
sum
them.
money. They're able to use whenever they have an emergency. Medical insurance companies weren't working, and even if there was one company who was saying that it's working, but they weren't. Even if they were, hospitals are not safe, or we won't guarantee the road to go to a hospital or a medical facility.
Sorry, some technical issues there. So that was a bit of an insight into just how difficult it was to do something as simple as paying staff. As when the civil war first happened, and Muna, assuming you're still there, I'd just like you to give us an example from your personal perspective about how difficult it was just to run an office in that first few weeks. Are you there, Muna?
Yes, I am there. I'm there. You know, the war just turned our life upside down in all aspects of life, including how we function. And we have to make lots of adjustment. And my colleague Wala, who just was on a video, she reflect how we make some adjustment and some. We have to be creative to make things work under such difficult circumstances. And like, for example, not only pay, like we use, like the bank transfer stopped for months without being able to transfer money from any place, from UK, from anywhere else to Sudan. So we have to talk to our suppliers to continue to work without being paid. And because you have long history of legacy with them, we are known to the communities who are trustworthy, the people continue to, and because they're dedicated to serve their people, they continue to work without being paid. They continue to provide all what we need, whether it's goods or services, without being paid for many, many months. having all that, you have to be also in compliance with the donors requirement, with rules and regulations. So we have to work it out in a very, very tough situation. Like internet connectivity was a real challenge. So I have to conduct meeting by the midnight, like 2 o'clock in the night or 3 o'clock in the morning, because during the day, internet doesn't work. So I have to call Muhtaz at 3 o'clock in the night to tell him what's going on there. I have to contact my people on the field to explain to me the situation after 12 o'clock in the night, because like we spend the day doing nothing because we cannot connect to each other, but we work during night, which is quite unusual, which is also usual under current circumstances. And it's lots of stuff, like sometimes accessing the field. We have our staff who goes because they're keen to deliver, and they're unsafe and unsecured. We always tell them human safety come first, but they don't. They don't listen. They say, like, if we hide, we will die. And if you do our work, we'll also die. So let's die with honor. Die while serving the communities. One of my staff, he's have to travel to deliver some of the building materials because it has to go during that day before the rain starts. Otherwise, accessibility of road will be an issue. So while the bullet is going on, he just drive the trucks and take the materials to the field. And during that time, I have to stay awake until I make sure that actually he reach the destination safely. My staff, they stay in the field with the community for days because they cannot go back to their families, because roads are not safe at that days. So they have to stay until they are done with their work. We have...
What was going through your mind, Moon?
I have to stay like I just have to stay until they call me in the middle of that and tell me, yes, when I'm safe. I arrive the community and I'm safe. I'm sitting with communities and I'm communicating with my families, and they're also safe there. So you don't have to worry. And this is an experience. I hope it will end up soon, and I hope nobody will go through again. No one, whoever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to another video from Walla now, who again, during our conversation, she gave me some insight into the day-to-day challenges we face running our operations in Sudan, and again some other ways in which we creatively came up with solutions to them. And I just think it's a really, really nice introduction into both the ingenuity that the staff there showed, but also the flexibility and the commitment of our team there. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. First of all, like how did you carry on working? Could you carry on? Did work just become like almost like a forgotten memory? What was that like?
At that point, we didn't know what's going to happen, to be honest. A lot of me and my colleagues were discussing that, are we going to continue or not? And because right now, most of our family members and everyone that was working in the private sector or in the private corporate has lost their positions. So you find yourself being day and night that you're the only provider, not just for your direct family members, not just for like your mother and father, but even for your cousins and everyone around you. So at that point we were feeling unsecured, me and some of my colleagues, that are we going to continue? Is practical action going to stop? What's going to happen after the war? Do we still have jobs? Is it going to be secured? But after we kind of got the sense that we are going to continue, you just need to wake up strong. You just need to remind yourself that you're the only person who currently has a salary. You're the only person who is going to provide for everyone around you. And it does get kind of stressful sometimes, but reminding yourself that kind of gives you the power to move on further, because once you stop, then God knows what's going to happen to everyone.
So as a group of colleagues, how did you work together through that initial period and then moving on? How has it been?
There were some colleagues who had some connectivity at the areas that they were. There were some colleagues who managed to go out immediately after the war like broke, and there were who were left behind. Some who were left behind who didn't have connectivity and we couldn't connect to. So at first we were trying to find out who had the connectivity and who was like on a stable condition to continue to work, because of course we had to have things going forward, like we couldn't just stop suddenly. So it was myself, it was Muna who was already in Egypt. um, it was Mu'taz, he was already starting to go out. There was Mamoun who was already going to Kasala. There were a few of the colleagues who were in Umdurman still had their connectivity. So we started meeting more often and discussing how we would get the work going with the absence of our colleagues who weren't lucky enough to have the connectivity at that time.
And so I've kind of got a vision of you trying to work in a basement whilst there's kind of bombs going on above you in Khartoum. Was that the situation, or was that once you'd arrived in Cairo that you
No, that was once I arrived in Cairo. At that
Okay.
point, because we didn't have electricity and I couldn't be able to charge, it was very off and on. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't consistent in my, yeah.
And what, like, run me through like the kind of logistics of what happened to our office in Khartoum, to our colleagues as well, and kind of how you as a group came together to support people.
Okay. Because the war was mainly in Khartoum and in Darfur, and this is where we had two of our biggest offices. We needed to act fast. We needed to find a replacement. We needed to know what's going to happen next. So at that time, we kind of got information off and on. We kind of knew that okay, that RSF were also, they looted the office in Khartoum. We knew that they were trying to steal the cars. We kind of got some information, but also the information wasn't consistent because it was off and on. Once we received connectivity from the security guards, we got some information. My worries, my personal worries were the data, because some of the data we had backup to and some we didn't. How are we going to replace this data and what's going to happen? This was like a big question mark in my head. But you know what? Each step we took, the other step like automatically fell in place. So the first decision was to because Kasala was one of the safest places in Sudan, and it still continues to be. So the first decision was to kind of redeploy the employees and trying to find a way for them to move to Kasala. And luckily, we have a very big office there. So we started thinking about how to have offices and how to have guest house, because a lot of people were going to Kasala from the whole Sudan. And there wasn't like available spaces to rent. And even if there were, the prices were getting higher because there was a rush to the Eastern Sudan area. So yeah, the first decision was just trying to get everyone to a safer location. And as we connected with the staff, we created a WhatsApp group for all the staff. It's like a security staff that each person who has connectivity will check in and kind of update us on his situation, where they're at. And we will leave messages there. So with the employees that don't have connectivity at that time, open their WhatsApp. Once they receive connectivity, they can just go through the messages that we have kept for them. So one of the messages was try to relocate to Kasala. So many employees were lucky to go to Kasala. There were other employees who couldn't from Darfur, and there were other employees who went to other locations. For example, we had employees going to Libya, we had employees going to other safer locations, but they couldn't get to Kasala.
So that was a kind of an insight into how we reacted as an office to the outbreak of war. And it's real testament to Walla, Muna, Mutaz, and other colleagues there that we actually managed to continue to operate at all. But the fact that we did so has allowed us to do some incredible work. And I'd like to really turn to that now and have the opportunity to talk about the way in which we've continued to work with communities and continued with our philosophy of providing excellent community grounded long-term development work in Sudan. And I'd like to bring in Mutaz, if that's okay. Mutaz is our head of operations in Sudan, as I said earlier. I first met Mutaz in Darfur when I was there to collect some content around our UK Aid Match project there. And now Mutaz is based out of Kassala as well. So Mutaz, you told me before about the work that we've been doing there. What's particularly stood out to you in terms of the work? So can you tell me a little bit about the most outstanding work that we've been doing, and how have our projects been progressing against the background of civil war?
Yeah, okay, thank you. As you know, we are working in like 4 areas in Sudan, in Blue Nile, and in Eastern Sudan, in Kassala and Gadarif, as well as big operation in Darfur. We are implementing many projects in these areas, especially when we start with Blue Nile. We are still continue supporting our farmers and farming group. We managed to registration and formulation of more than 35 farming groups. Those they are working in this multiplication of potato and sweet potato around there. Actually, yesterday I received a very, very promising video. I hope that I managed to just to share with you all. This video captured by the TV of Sudan, saying that there did some interventions with IDPs that enforced to flee to Blue Nile. You know, Blue Nile itself, there is no conflict inside Blue Nile, but it looked like blocked by the conflict around there. So there, the market was full of the production of sweet potato because of our work there. We start before like 1 year with 6,000 vines of sweet potato. We brought all farmers together with formulation of this farming group. We introduced this farmer school skills and interventions through which we managed to have like more than 20 tons right now available in the market. Besides, still people, I received very, 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 very promising also feedback from colleagues of mine yesterday. Also told me that even those farming group, they're serving more than 70 something vines to be multiplicated or replicated. Surprisingly, I'm very happy that you see, they said that one of the feedback done through this video, one of these IDPs told us that 1 bag of 4 kilo of sweet potato, it equal to only $1, while the same amount, the same quantity of onion, which is necessary for cooking food, it is more than $20. They told us during yesterday video, saying that now even they're using this sweet potato as a base for cooking instead of onion. You see,
Wow.
I'm very happy. Yesterday I was very, very, very happy about this one. This one of these just example way there. Additionally, also, so through our work, we equip local farmers in Blue Nile with seed multiplications. So when this rainy season came, and they didn't struggle to get like improve seeds because they know how to produce seeds from time to time. So still, despite the fact that Blue Nile is maybe totally blocked, but still our farmers, our networking with colleagues, they are surviving, they are doing well. Yes. Additionally, as example there from this community center for peace building in Blue Nile, even like 3 or 4 days ago, I received feedback from one of the focal person called Ahmed. He told me that they start coming together, this community center, discussing their all businesses like this one. Even they feel that like even the frequency of incidents and tension become reduced there in Blue Nile. So we are very proud of what we are doing in Blue Nile. Coming to Darfur, where just working for a very long time in Darfur, in the middle of this ongoing conflict, and despite this fighting day and night, shooting day and night, our project managers like Audallah managed with the local supplies, managed to deliver more than 100 solar panel that necessary to operate these water yards. Yes, and you see, as told by Muna, the suppliers didn't ask about to reimburse about their and reclaim by their money because they know that we are going to, whenever it allows, we are going to give them back their money. This in Darfur. Additionally, also because of this big water infrastructure investment we did it there, like this water weirs, most of people enforced to flee from Al-Fasha due to this conflict. Now they are allocated around these water infrastructures and what services that we are providing. Actually, the latest information received from colleague of mine there, it is more than 70,000 plus people scattered around where we did a lot of interventions there. This is one issue. Additionally, also, we are still communicating with the local communities and natural resources management committees around there. They inform us that the local water management committees, they manage to keep all water infrastructures keep functioning. Despite this, this year, we face a lot of floods and everything in Darfur. You see, this is just example of what being done in Darfur. Going to Kassala, in Kassala, actually, we are through this gender transformation intervention and forming of 100% farming group for producer for vegetables. They saying that yesterday I talked to Samia. Samia is one of the farmers that told me that because of practical action, they managed to organize themselves. They have their own farming group, and even they receive many trainings, different trainings in this agro processing, in marketing. We managed to link them to the market. We managed to support them to replicate and just produce their own vegetable seeds. Besides, we also install some pre-processing infrastructure like aggregation units, like drying units, and even like cold storage. They told us their vegetables, they are not limited to this season, but they are going to keep it and even to sell it to the market in a very nice packaging way. So it is just a snapshot about what we are doing right now in this on ground. Yeah, thank you.
Fabulous, Mutaz. That was such a good insight. Thank you. So, I mean, you told us so much there, and there will be a chance at the end for people to ask questions if you want any more detail. But I mean, briefly to summarize, in Blue Nile, we've got an incredible crop of sweet potatoes that are so much cheaper and easier for people to access than even staples like onions. In Darfur, we've got the communities managing these huge dams that we've helped them to construct, and they're giving water, and with solar power, they're enabling people to kind of irrigate crops and supporting the huge numbers of displaced people that have gone out from the town to the rural areas. And then back into Kassala, where we've been training women farmers who have kind of had to take over the reins very often of their farms because men have kind of disappeared or they've been left as head of households, and just because of the social, the kind of upheaval that people have faced. Mutaz, just quickly, how does it make you feel when you hear these stories? Very, very, very quickly.
Sorry?
How does it make you feel when you talk to our colleagues there?
Yeah, I'm very happy. I feel that very proud of practical action, and even very proud of those guys working for day and night. So they're working tirelessly to provide this information. And on the top of that, the feedback. You see, my phone and even didn't stop ringing because I received very positive feedback from that. Because of practical action, we managed to do this one. Because of you, like this one, become like one family. We feel that we are community-centered organization. We are feeling that really we are very proud. I hope that all of you come back to Sudan just to visit and to see like what you did during last couple of years. When you come, you feel very friendly, that you feel very proud about the way that we managed to change the life of people. Yeah, yeah, very,
Thanks.
very happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say it's been a ray of light hearing about our work whilst all the terrible news has been going on about Sudan. So just to reinforce what Mutaz has been saying, we've now got an interview that I did with Mesa Tahir, who's our communications officer in Kassala at the moment, and she told me a little bit about some of the people that she'd met in the communities when she'd gone to meet them to find out what we've been doing. Can you kind of tell us what you've been focused on, like since you've been in Kassala, and what's been the sort of the type of work you've been doing, and a little bit about kind of what's been kind of the most impactful things that you've seen?
I met this like a farmer called Al-Rayah. Al-Rayah, he also like had a farm. I think it's like 5 fiddan or something. So, and although is like his farm is like next to the river, so he doesn't have any problem with water. But his main crop were like a rain-fed crop, unless the rain it came too late and it wasn't that much of a rain. So simply he didn't have any like the crop was a failure. But still he didn't manage to because beside the like sesame and the other crop, he had like bananas trees, and he have like another grapefruit, but he didn't actually was able to pump the water from the river to his farm because of the high petroleum of the high cost of petroleum. So he wasn't able, and it was just hard for him. And even for he couldn't even like really get funds from the bank, because all of the bank actually lost their profit, and they weren't getting any revenues because of the war. So they kind of stopped giving any like fund to farmers. So it was really hard for him to actually like continue his work. Beside the extremely high expenses of living, I think I did explain this later, is like we have a huge inflation in Sudan. Like the $1 like before the war used to be like 550. Now the $1 is 2050. So it's a lot. And even like for renting the house, it was like 3,000 SDG dollars for a month. Now is 900,000 like for a month. And it's not even a big house. It's just like a one bedroom house. So a lot of people like really been suffering. Even here, like people started to like rent half of their home. Like for example, the home that I rented for my family is actually half of like the owner's home, and they technically live in like a studio alike apartment, and they're 2 family. Like imagine having 2 family living in a kind of a studio like space. So it did really affected a lot of people, and it's still happening. And with everything now is happening with the flooding, there is a lot of like flooding in several states. And even with the whole like dollars going up, is like the whole basic food supplies and like maybe agriculture inputs, everything is just is not easy.
And can you kind of sum up the impact through what somebody has said to you, Mesa? Like, is there like a single story or anything that you could kind of, where you could say like who the person was and kind of what they said to you to kind of illustrate that.
Okay, so there is one farmer. His name was Ahmed. Ahmed was technically like a farmer by birth because for some reason he stayed in like the nursery of agriculture. So everything he learned was actually like by birth. So what it was really fascinating about talking to him, it was that although like all of my experience were like in like agriculture and I've practiced it, but I learned a lot of new information through the farmer field school. And he was completely fascinated about the drip irrigation technique because he never heard of it and he never seen like similar technology to it. And he was very surprised that he can actually grow his vegetable in his home yard. For some reason, this is something that he did not think of it to do. And he was like every time I meet him, he will give me updates. It's like I managed to grow some tomato. Next month, I'm planning to do this. So this was like really like nice to see. And he also like and he say like I sold the tomato, I sold the watermelon, the melon seeds. So it was really nice to see that.
So I hope that gave a bit of an insight into some of the people that we work with as well. Unfortunately, we're not able to bring them into this particular online event for kind of obvious reasons, but Mesa talks to people on the ground very often, and I hope that gave an opportunity to get an idea of how the work and impacts them. Now I'm going to go straight into another video now. And when I was talking to Walla, Walla said something that really sort of resonated with me about this person. It's a guy called Awadullah. He's the sort of the office manager in Darfur, and Walla described him as a superhero to her. And I have to say, that's what he is to me as well. Awadullah's been working with Practical Action in Darfur for more than a decade, and has delivered some incredible work, some of which Mutaz spoke about around the way in which we manage water and we work with communities and we get community buy-in so that our work is truly sustainable. But Awadullah is going to give you a bit of an insight into what it's like to work during a war. And the story he gives is absolutely incredible. So please listen. And whilst you're listening, please do come in with any questions that you might want to follow up with towards the end of the event.
So from my point of view, I think that we have a lot of money to help and support the communities. So if I was not being there, I think that it is very difficult that we are able to work and support the communities. So I start thinking about how we can, at least we are going to construct the 3 water wheels that support more than 50,000 communities. These 3 water yards, more than 50,000 communities, person, I mean. So we had a contract with the suppliers or the companies that going to construct the weirs, and this is already been signed. But because of the war, they think that this could not be implemented because of the insecurity situation and this kind of things. Okay, I'm not decided to leave Al-Fashir. I said I should stay there to find out how we can I can help in constructing this dam first, and I can do the other minor things at once. So I went to the companies and I had meeting with them. And before I went to the companies, I visited the dam sites and I meet the community and I talked to them. I am saying I will not leave Al-Fashir. I will be here. And so me and you and the others, we have to work together to complete the rest of the construction of these 3 water yards, water ways, because this is, I think it is very important for you and also for people of Darfur. So we should do that. They agreed with me. And then we divided the role between us. I say, you community, you can mobilize your own people and the community and those kind of things. When I need you and help you, and I need to support you, just come and support and help. This one. Second thing, you should take care of any company that, or any equipment or any trucks or whatever, this kind of machine and this who will work here. You have to be take care of that. Of that one. And I took some of them in Al-Fashir to discuss with the locality. Before we go to the locality, we went to the companies and we asked them how we can work together and we can, what support they need from us. They say the fuel is very high, very costly. So I said that I can go to the localities, they can give you in the low prices. And really I did that with the company, with the localities, and the companies have been able to get fuel in low prices. That's okay. So after that, we mobilize that fuel, how to get out of Al-Fashir, because there is a lot of inspections, there's a lot of checkpoints, and there is a lot of the government concerns and this kind of things. We have been able to do all these things. And we have been able to take the fuel to the dam site, especially the one in the Wada. And that start first. And the community was working very closely with the company. And then I myself, I'm visiting regularly the dam sites and see what is going well and what's not going well, what kind of support they need. And again, I come to Fashir to see for more fuel or something like that. So in very short time, we have been able to complete the Wada Dam, and that's went very well. And in the first year, I mean, the last season, it had been full of water, and this very helped and supported many peoples and many animals in dams in the Wada. So they really that was done very good. And also, I would like to thank the companies that who contracted to do that. Also, it done very perfect and done very good work.
Can you tell me a little bit about some of the difficulties that you've really faced and how you've overcome them? Because I know that you'll pretend that it was all very like straightforward, but I know that it wasn't.
Yes, that really I didn't went. I went to the details, and I think I saw that maybe your time is not that big. That's why I give you the main lines.
No, tell us all. We want to know.
Okay, so you know, Alpha, you know the war in Sudan or the entire country is not easy. Huh? It is very serious war. Huh? So everywhere is shooting. Huh? The shooting is everywhere, and the insecurity is everywhere. So when I start working inside Al-Fashir, it is very risky. Even I go from my home to the market and then to the locality. Why? Because at any time the war will start, and the people start shooting randomly, and some of them even they have some people just target the people and shoot them. This is happening in Al-Fashir and happening more hundreds of times. This is happening, and at that time the only senior staff of the NGOs remain and working in Al-Fashir. That's me only. Yes. So the home that I am living, it is struck by the heavy guns for 3 times. That heavy guns is just exploded in the home that I am living. And one upon a time, when I have been to the locality and I talking to the people and saying, "Allah, we need fuel in low price," suddenly the locality is attacked by the RSF and shooting everywhere, and that was very close to the market. Some people have been killed and some people have been injured, and the locality is completely burned at that time. You know, most of the locality is burned. We find a way to escape. That's just God help us to escape, and I expect to be died, because at that time the shooting was very heavy and everywhere there is shooting. This is the one. Second thing, that when I also have some work in the office to do, the road from the town from the side that I'm living to the other side in called Daraja Ula. Also, it was very, very difficult. That place is very restricted because there is full of the soldiers and there is full of the checkpoints. And at any time, when the shooting is started, because it will start at any time, just you find yourself in the middle of the fighting, and the people are people are shooting everywhere. So that also happened to us. In office, I have three. There is three bomb happen in our office. Huh? Close the office when I sometimes one upon a time I'm sitting outside the office, and there is three or four people with me. We have discussion something about yes, work and this kind of things. Just they send very big heavy guns and exploit it, and we are completely disappeared with the ash and and the earth and all the things. But fortunately, nobody's injured. Huh? Second one happened also in our office. They sent also very big guns that exploded, and even they destroyed the two gates of the office, and also the place where I'm working, or my office also have been some bullets in my office and this kind of.
So I realize that was quite a long video, but I hope you don't mind. The story that Awadullah told was absolutely mind-blowing from my point of view. And I hope it gave you real insight into both the dedication of Awadullah, the challenges of actually operating in Darfur at the moment, and also the importance of actually delivering that work as well. As I say, Awadullah's kind of a bit of a hero of mine, and I hope you know why now. Muna and Mutaz, at the beginning of the event, I kind of said that one thing that we wanted to do was to highlight just why long-term development work is so important in the context of a crisis like this, whilst acknowledging that humanitarian work is really, really vital as well. And I'd kind of like to ask you both that question from your point of view, Muna, to begin with, and then Mutaz afterwards. Muna, why is it so important that practical action is there delivering this humanitarian work in this context when long-term development work, when there's so much humanitarian work being done at the same time?
We are serving the left behind people, which is unfortunately are not reached by the government and by many of the sister NGOs and UN agencies. So they're in a faraway communities where we're biased toward the people who haven't been served and they don't have much in life, which is very unfortunate. Fortunately, those people are not targeted by the RSF and the army. That's why the communities we are serving are to some extent safe. They are not impacted by the conflict as such because they're far away. The conflict parties are targeting the strategic cities and the big towns when they can get something to loot and some people important for them to kill or not to stay alive. Sorry to say that. So those people are targeted and will continue to target them. So they need development work rather than relief work. And our development work impact is still functioning under the current circumstances, under the current situation. People are still cultivating, people are still doing harvesting, and people are still eating and serving people who are coming from the impacted war areas. So it is very important for us to continue. And I was talking to many people, including our leader, Sarah, who's luckily here among us here. We'll continue to work until the last breath, until it is possible. So long as it is possible, we'll continue to deliver. because what we're delivering is important and becoming more important now, because it's not all our targeted communities, it's targeted communities becoming a host communities to people who are coming from there, from the war affected areas. And our impact is still ongoing, and the deliverables are still functioning, and we still are driven. I will continue to are dedicated, committed as practical action as Sudanese people to do that, because what we're driven is needed, and now it's much, much more needed than before.
Thanks, Mina. And Mutaz?
Yeah, I think we have to continue with our development work to do the same that what we are doing right now. This rewarding experience in Blue Nile, an introduction of new products like potato and sweet potato, which now serving like alternative for food whatsoever. So really we need to take this into consideration and just to replicate it more. And addition to that, also to have like prevent deterioration of existing facilities that we already invest millions of dollars over these 40 years in Sudan. So really we can continue like doing the same. In addition to that, also to support peace coexistence, because one of the, when we analyze what is going on in Sudan and even in other countries, this like competition over scarce resources, because by this issue of climate change whatsoever. So people, they are fighting against yes, scarce resources. So we can support with these long-term interventions. We can support this regeneration of like fodders, this busters, everything, like even water infrastructure activity. So we can reduce this tension, and even we can contribute positively in this reduction of conflict over here in Sudan. In addition to that, also we have very rewarding experience in Darfur about these home gardens, farmer-feeding schools, training of community animals health workers, farming, formulation of farming groups, seed multiplication techniques. It is something unique for practical action. It is something that practical action DNA. So within this very long intervention, you can do this. On the top of that, like also usually I'm saying these stories because even the local community is saying that they manage in some areas, the areas around this dam, they manage to have like, when the government did some surveys for water surveys, they say that now the areas become very rich by water. So we can go further and provide clean water. As mentioned by Muna, even Sudan not man-made, it is also this natural issue. Now cholera, everything. So we can invest in this clean water through, yes, like long interventions. All this not provided when you are addressing this from humanitarian or just emergency response point of view. So on the top of that, we can do everything through environmental friendly interventions through this solar system, yeah, like what we are doing right now. That is why I'm saying that we have to invest more in this development intervention. I see
Thanks,
Muna is
Mutaz.
my boss
Yes.
is smiling, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if I might also come in, Andrew, actually, part of the work we do is to help people to build peace, because we provide the scarce resources that is causes of conflict, especially in Darfur, are now becoming everywhere. So it's the part of work we do is we prepare the ground for the peace if it ever comes, and we pray hard if it comes soon. So like we are influential, we are inspiring people by our ingenious ideas about the outstanding intervention we provide. So we help people to accept each other, we help people to understand each other, we help people to accommodate each other, we help people to be like in peace, because like, yes, come to our communities, we have food to give you to eat. Then we sit down together and we provide food for you. So it is about building peace, preparing ground for the peace to come, or at least this peace we're providing, it might expand and go somewhere else. And when they obtain peace for all the country and end the war. And if the war ends, we are well prepared to do more.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more,
We'll
Mina.
continue to be able to do more.
Yeah, I mean, what we know, and the way in which everything has been described to me is that obviously the war has been caused effectively by people who are fighting over power. It's not a reflection of what's happening on the ground, where we know there are issues over fighting over scarce resources. And what I've observed is when we help people access water, we then also help people come together and negotiate access to those scarce resources. And that has a profound effect on the way in which communities are able to interact with each other, when previously they may have been certainly fighting over those scarce resources. I appreciate that the time has got away with us a little bit. I hope everybody here realizes why. As I said, there's so much to talk about. This could go on for days, quite honestly. We're going to go on to some questions and answers very briefly, and Muna and Mutaz have both agreed to stay for a short while to answer those. So if you have any further questions, please do post them in the Q&A box at the bottom. There's one or two there, so we'll take a look at those very briefly. But this will be recorded and shared afterwards, so you have got a chance to go and see them if you want to leave now. So I'm just going to go into the questions that we've been asked, and we've got one here which perhaps Mutaz you could help with, which is from an anonymous attendee, asking us how much of the infrastructure, that's kind of things like dams and solar panels and pumps, which PA have helped install and build, how many of those have been damaged by warring factions in Darfur? Mutaz, are you able to shed any light on that? Or Muna come in as well? Mutaz.
Yeah, actually, so far, fortunately, there is no any dam distracted by this war. As mentioned by Muna, most of this infrastructure located in deep field locations where it was not targeted by both groups. But because of this conflict, we didn't manage to complete some interventions that like construction of hand pumps in some areas, and also completion of these water yards in some areas because of accessibility at some time, because of the safety of this one. But so far, what being constructed already, there is no direct report about any. And even more, as the community there, because of this, additionally, this local community from these water management committees, they are keen just to protect, to work day and night, everything they are doing, and even report back to us. This, as far as I know. If Muna has something to add, yeah, welcome.
You have said it all, Muhtas. Thank you very much. Yes, we are far away. Our communities are very far from the war-affected areas because like they're either inaccessible or people are not interested, the conflict party, to go in there. Thank you. Thank you, Muhtas. Thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the other thing that I'd like to bring in is that because the dams and the solar panels are owned by the community protect them. So not only are they being installed in locations often which are very rural and far away from the fighting, they're actually very well protected and very well looked after by the community themselves. So they aren't harmed because they're so incredibly important. I hope that answers the question. I have another one, which was asked to Mesa, but again, maybe Mutaz can come in on this. And Mutaz, the question is, how easy is it for people to buy tools and machinery for their work at the moment? Mutaz, you're on mute, I'm afraid.
Yes, now it is okay.
Yeah.
Actually, yes, we are working with very long time with suppliers, very dedicated suppliers. And as mentioned by Muna, our main office right now becoming Kasala, where the security situation is nothing to report. And most of the suppliers, yes, now reallocate themselves and firms at the Kasala. So we are using our normal procurement procedures. So they are apply, yes, this tendering everything they apply, yes, more than even anticipated. We are selecting according to this quality, everything like this one. So we didn't face any problem right now for just asking for any building materials or also even more in Darfur, as mentioned by Abdullah. Even sometimes the suppliers manage to bring all these supplies from far away, but because it is a commitment. But so far there is nothing till now challenging here for us for this
So,
supplies.
so we as Practical Action have been able to kind of buy tools and machinery. How about farmers? What about the supply chains to farmers and individuals on the ground? Is it as easy for them?
Yeah, actually, as I'm saying, because it start from beginning, we start linking farmers to the relevant stakeholders, including those suppliers. So they knows exactly from where they can get this certified seeds. Yes, they know everything. So, and even one of our role also, yes, during this community mobilization, we are telling them about what areas, what firms are providing this one and this one, and even the feedback we receive it from local farmers. They didn't say that they face any problem. In the top of that, the last interventions that we are in, we are doing on ground in Sudan. Also, we are incorporate the private sectors on this one. So during this interaction between private sectors and farmers, so now they are in good position, just even not only to produce, but also even to market in a good way, of their production. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Mutaz. And finally, there's one other question which was asked in the chat, I believe, which was around wages for staff. Which was kind of asking around whether or not we should increase staff wages so that they are able to support their immediate family and lift people from subsistence. Muna, that's one that you could field.
As a matter of fact, we get salary increment from Practical Action to be able to meet the high inflation and other commitment raised as a result of war, which is thoroughly explained by my colleague Wala. And it's not only salary increment, it's lots of support we're getting, unconditional support from our colleague from UK. And we are very thankful for that. Like, they made it much, much easier for us, all aspects, not only the financial part. We have also to make some adjustment in our life. We have to, I would say, not eat less, but do lots of saving, lots of leaving lots of expenses, making it prioritize our needs to be able to meet the commitments of our brothers, sisters, cousins, friends who left their job and became like in a very fragile economic status. And it's just getting like that. Like, I don't know even how to explain how it worked, but we just give as much as we can and we maintain what we need to maintain and what we can maintain. But we did receive salary increment from Practical Action to meet the situation, which is more than the usual increment. Like by law, like it has to be every year 2%. No, it is far away more than that, and we are thankful to that. We are thankful for all the support we get from UK, which is some of it paid from restricted resources, some of it paid from unrestricted resources. But I'm quite sure it was quite costly for the organization to make such big raise. And as a matter of fact, there is another thing that the organization is doing. Some of the staff, they stayed without having a project to support them, to pay their salary. Still, we kept them because we know they're good and we cannot send them home under the current circumstances. And luckily, we got projects to support them and we get support from unrestricted. Yes. Yeah, that's the case. Thank you.
Thanks, Muna. Mutaz, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I received a notification of colleague of mine, my colleague Dr. Abdullah, because he's in top of this vaccination of more than 500,000 animals within less than 2 months in Kasala and Gadarif. He says that you have to mention this to all people because yeah, yes, this is the way that we are very adaptive. This originally it is not stated within this agreement with donors, but because of something happened and because the need raised from the line ministry, so we advocate for this, and the donors say that go ahead, and yes, they were lucky that more than 500,000 animals being vaccinated within just less than 2 months. Really, we are
That's
so proud.
incredible.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
quite rightly proud of that. That's
yes. Thank you.
500,000
Yeah,
animals
yeah. Okay.
vaccinated. Incredible. Well, thank you, Mutaz, and thank you, Muna. And thank you, everybody, for staying and with us and watching. At a time of unrest like this, as you've heard, donations are incredibly important and absolutely vital as a vehicle to enable us to continue to operate and be flexible and be able to react to the situation that unfolds. You've heard how dedicated all of our staff are. You've heard how difficult it's been. So I'd just like to say that, first of all, thank you for donations. And secondly, if you would like to donate afterwards, there'll be a link in the chat to enable you to do so. This has been recorded. If you haven't been able to catch it all for one reason or another, it will be available to watch back. But in the meantime, massive thanks to Mutaz and Muna, massive thanks to Walla, Awadullah and Mesa, and thanks for everybody who joined. Much appreciated. Bye-bye.